All right, so welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, June 30th, quarter of 10, a little late one tonight, but as always, this is Zach DaCosta. I'm here with Josh Sully over in Lee, Mass. What's going on, man? How you doing?
How are we doing today, folks? Thanks for staying with us. Thanks for hanging with us. We appreciate it, and we're ready to talk some sports, huh?
Yeah, so pretty crazy day. Actually, not even say crazy. A lot of things going on already with the offseason already. Of course, with the NBA, we got Kevin Durant, his decision. He is currently going to become a free agent in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. We also have our MLB midseason review. We will be discussing just teams that are struggling right now, teams that have started out great, and maybe our predictions for the second half of the season. And I'm actually going to look back later on tonight or maybe tomorrow about one of our earlier episodes. We made some very, very early predictions like back in February or so. But
of course
what's that?
So of course they're all going to be perfect and right.
I honestly, one of my predictions looks pretty great, and it's the one with the Giants. But other than that, I really don't know how well everything else is going to go. So we'll have to wait on that. You with me?
Did you see that the Giants are batting Madison Bumgarner in a game where they're supposed to use the DH?
I did see that, actually. Yeah, so I'm very thrilled to see that because I know that a lot of people were actually talking about how they wanted some of the pitchers to be in the home run derby contest too. Like Bumgarner was talking about it, and Jake Arrieta was talking about it. So I think that'd be very interesting to see if they would get them involved. So
I think that would be great. I think that would be absolutely awesome.
All right. So, yeah, so while we're on the topic of baseball, I guess we'll get into that right now. So we'll start out with the MLB midseason review. So if you're a Red Sox fan or a Mets fan right now, unfortunately, I guess Sully's given some sympathy out to some of the Mets fans right now. It's been a horrible, horrible month for both those teams. Red Sox can't pitch. That was the story going into the year. They've been awful. David Price has been probably average this year. I will say in defense of the Red Sox that they have not been able to hit when he's on the mound. They don't give him any run support or 0 runs at all. But there have been some games where he's been rocked. The other guys, I mean, Buchholz is terrible. Porcello is very, very inconsistent. Rodriguez has been an abomination to the team. Yeah. Awful. So, but I know a lot of people complaining about Farrell's excuses at the end of the game. It doesn't really seem like he's putting too much thought into it. And I kind of think it has to begin with the fact that one of David Price's earliest mistakes in the year in his windup wasn't even noticed, not by the head coach, who was a pitching coach, not by the pitching staff, but by the second baseman on the team, Pedroia. So you got to think, like, you have a guy who won the World Series in 2013. Now you have back-to-back years you finish in last. You have a great start, and then in the month of June you go 9-16, and now that the Orioles have won 7 games in a row, you're 5.5 games behind in the AL East with Toronto a half game back. So I think the Red Sox are going to have to make some serious adjustments at the All-Star break to, like, stay with it this one.
They've been hit with a little bit of bad luck. Like, Buchholz has been terrible, and the diagnosis with Buchholz was always going to be like, all right, well, he's going to be good enough until he gets hurt. But he hasn't even been that. Carson, what the heck's it? Carson, I forget his last name, the bullpen guy they got from Oakland.
I can't remember his name.
I forget his last name, but anyway, he's been out. I almost said Carson Wentz, but that's obviously not him. He's been out, so they got hit with that. Kimbrel was pretty shaky out of the bullpen. Kimbrel's cleaned up now. Kimbrel's doing fine, but I don't think Farrell's a very good in-game manager, and I don't think it's very hard to notice that, especially after he didn't have that much success in Toronto. They send him to Boston. He does a good enough job to win a World Series, which, not to be undersaid, that team was fantastic. They had a lot of character. They had a lot of talent. Now you're seeing it. You're seeing it in really small situations. Like, he's not pinch hitting for guys. Why is Sandy Leone batting when there's 2 men on and you're down by 3 runs in the 9th inning? There's no reason he should be up at bat. I don't care how hot he is. He's not your go-to guy. I think he's really bad at these in-game situations. I was a fan of Torlavella. I thought they should have kept him.
And it's kind of funny that you talk about this, and speaking of baseball in general, like, the Red Sox and Mets have very, very similar situations right now. You got 2 teams. The only opposites is that the Mets have a pitching staff that's been fairly decent for the year. They just can't hit. The Red Sox are the opposite. They can hit, but they don't have a pitching staff that can keep them in the games. And they both have managers that both teams' fans have called out and say, this team could go to another level of excellence if this guy wasn't here. Terry Collins for the Mets is the same exact guy as Farrell right now. He's a bad in-game manager. He makes a lot of questionable decisions with the team that actually puts them in bad spots in the game. So I think that, you know, it's going to be tough for a team like the Mets. And the reason why I say this is because they're playing in the NL right now. Even if they were to make the playoffs, you're talking a team that can't hit. They have no guys that can put contact on the ball really, very inconsistently too. If you're going to have to play a team like the Dodgers in the first round, you're probably going to face a guy like Kershaw. You're going to have to play a team like the Giants in the first round. You're going to probably face a guy like Bumgarner. You're going to have to play the Nationals in the first round of the playoffs. You're going to get a guy like Scherzer. So, like, if you can't hit, you're screwed. You're not going to go anywhere. They have to find somebody that's going to be consistent.
Here's why
I'm going to get rid of David Wright. He's got to hang up the cleats. The guy has a major injury every single year. It's not working out for them. They gotta start going into their farm system and being like, okay, this is going to be the guy that's going to step up and play for Wright. I can't pin the name on the guy that they called up the other day, and I know my friend Rob, if he watches this, is going to kill me because he talks about the talent all the time. So I'll have to look into that again. But I know that they have guys that they're excited about. But David Wright is a long story. They got to start maybe thinking about parting ways with him. He gets hurt too much. It's too bad, but, you know.
You feel for the guy, but I can see why they stick with him because look at how much better of a team they are when he's in the lineup, even when he's on the bench and not completely hurt. He might need back surgery. It might be the end of his career. That really sucks for him. It really sucks for that organization. They have Jose Reyes back now. He's playing in AAA Brooklyn, I believe. Going to be desperate to do something with him. I don't really know.
Well, he's not even playing. Are you talking about Reyes?
Yeah.
He's not playing right away. He's on a minor league squad right now. They're going to eventually call him up probably 10 to 15 days, but we probably won't see him till after the All-Star break.
Here's why I'm not worried about the Mets, because last year I went on July 25th, my brother's birthday, to Citi Field, and they had the 28th worst offense in the major leagues. They squeaked out. They had a big offensive game where young guys stepped up to the plate and really delivered.
I mean, Sully, you got to admit, though, some of it's kind of a miracle that this happened. They were horrible, and the trade for Cespedes changed everything. But they're going to need something like that to put them back to where they were like that. I mean, that was a very, very lucky thing that happened in the Mets, that Cespedes situation worked out. He's a great player. He's going to be a starter in the All-Star game. But they're going to have to trade another one of those guys, and unfortunately, it might hurt them, but they might have to get rid of somebody like a Matz or DeGrom to get another hitter over there. Like, they got very, very lucky with that trade.
DeGrom is untouchable. They're not sending him anywhere.
I wouldn't even send Matz either, too, because he's too young. But the thing is, like, you got to think about it. They got to get somebody to hit on that team. They got to bring a guy who, spunks the offense. Conforto has been very bad as of late. He was one of their big-time players at the beginning of the year. I mean, I get it. They're probably they're a little bit of a cold stance right now. It sucks. It's just like the Red Sox are. But they're going to need – I've been reading what KFC on Barstool was saying like that. Even he himself admitted that this was kind of like a miracle that this happened last year. I mean, who would have predicted last year around this time that the Mets were going to play for the World Series? Nobody. They didn't even know they were going to make the playoffs last year.
It just goes to show, though, because offenses can get hot. Pitching staffs cannot. So you're better off to have solid pitching and not very great offense. There's a lot of season to turn it around. I don't know if they definitely will. You know, like you said, it was a miracle last year, but there is hope for Mets fans out there. Do you want to stick in New York and go to the Yankees a little bit, talk about that team?
No, not really, because I'm not really worried or concerned about them. They're an average team, but they're not really they'll make noise one week and then they'll just look like everybody expected them to look the other week. They're an average team. I mean, what are they, 38 and 37? They're just – some other teams I'm looking at right now in the major league. So, the Orioles have it on fire. That's a team I want to talk about right now because the Red Sox got a serious problem. Their pitching staff is consistent. They've hit 55 home runs this month in June. 55. They're 3 away from tying the MLB record for most home runs hit in a month by a team. And this is a team that the Red Sox – they – over the last 4 or 5 years, they have not played very well against the Orioles. So if I'm a Sox fan, I'm worried. I'm worried about that team because it seems that they have had a lot of problems with them, and they hit very well. They hit very well against us. So the
beginning of the season, I was listening to WEI.com or WEI, the radio broadcast of the Sox, and Rob Bradford went ahead and said that and he knew he was making a bold statement. He said, dare I say it, the Orioles offense might be better than the Blue Jays. And Mike Minarski, Mutt, as they call him.
Was that for Mutt and Merlone?
Yeah. He was like, "Get out of here, Bradford. Get out of here." He was like visibly angry. He was like, "There's no way. You're full of crap. There's no way that anyone could top that Toronto offense." And Bradford was like, "I'm just saying, you come back to me in a couple of weeks. Let's make a bet. 30 days."
I mean, the Red Sox offense has topped the Blue Jays offense this year. So is what's it called's offense, the Cubs.
Well, just what I'm trying to say is that he predicted that the Orioles were going to be as good as they are before everything started.
I knew the Orioles were going to have a good squad this year. I honestly thought that the Blue Jays were probably going to win the division, but it looks like right now that Baltimore's playing really, really well. So that might be a problem. Looking at some other teams, Giants, unbelievable start. They're struggling a little bit right now. They've lost like 3 or 4 in a row. But before that, they were 30-1-9 since the beginning of June. So, I mean, they played sensational. The Rangers, great team. They were average, and then all of a sudden they've surged. Same with the Cubs. They've been consistently good all year. I mean, they got
the World Series this year. Mark my words.
All right, we'll see about that. And I mean, you know how the Cubs are. They have those teams that they look very, very well, and as soon as they get to the postseason, it'll crash and burn. I'm not talking about last year's Cubs because they were very, very young, but I'm talking about like Cubs from like 2003. I'm talking about the 07 Cubs. Teams that have had pitching, and they've had some good hitters. I mean, if you look at those squads that had Pryor and Wood, and then you look at the guy that like Derek Lee when he was running for that Triple Crown year over in 07. So consistently, I think they've been consistently good. It's another team. I mean, we predicted them to be. I think I had Cubs and Giants and the NLCS this year in my early prediction, but I'll go back and double check that. But another thing I want to talk about, MLB, just to wrap it up real quick, AL Central, what a division that is. The 4th place team is only 1 win under the Red Sox record, and it's the White Sox. The Tigers and the Royals both have 43 and 42 wins. How about the Cleveland Indians, man? They've won 12 games in a row. They're about to win 13 in a row tonight.
I was just about to say that. It must be kind of cool seeing it over there in Ohio, but yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people are hyped up right now. I was just in the Easton Mall the other day, just going to grab clothes and stuff before I came home, and there's so much Cleveland memorabilia right now. Since the Cavs won the championship, there's a lot of Indian stuff going around now. Like, people are excited about the team. Pitching staff's been good. They've been hitting very well. I mean, what else can you ask? I think they've just sort of like fed off that championship from the Cavs. And it's an argument to make because since they won those 3 games, the Indians haven't lost. So, I mean, there's been a lot of activity up in Cleveland. So I'm excited for the Cavs situation. I mean, the Cavs situation and the city of Cleveland. Indians are playing really well, but we'll see. I will say this. My GM at the restaurant I work at, he's a big Indians fan. He's always said this. The Indians are not a second-half team. So we'll see how they play after the All-Star game. If they become like a 90, 95 win team, then so be it. Then we'll take them serious. But we'll have to find out until the second half of the season. Any last words on the MLB?
Just that the Indians and the Cubs, 2 teams, kind of surprising, doing tremendous. 2 former Red Sox running the show. Exactly.
Not really kind of backfired on the Red Sox for some of the trades they made. But, hey, we're on the rise, so it's okay. All right, moving on to the NBA. So Kevin Durant sweepstakes going on right now. There's obviously a lot of other moves that went on in the NBA since the last time we talked. I mean, Derrick Rose is now New York Knick. Looks like Joakim Noah is going to follow him to New York as well. There's a lot of free agents on the plate other than Durant. Obviously, Durant's the big name. You got Dwight Howard, who is a free agent, who's also going to be in Boston this weekend talking with the Celtics for a possible deal. Al Horford, another guy that's on the Celtics radar. Before we start talking about these other free agents, we gotta talk about Durant. I say there's a 90% chance he goes back to OKC, but we can talk each team that he's meeting with this weekend, and we'll see who has the best opportunity and whatnot. So what's your initial reaction about Kevin Durant?
Well, you got to think it has nothing to do with the money, right? I mean, I know
it does. He won't admit it, but it does.
It does have to do with the money?
He's going to make so much money if he signs this deal with Oklahoma City. It would be stupid not to.
Yeah,
because one, his reputation doesn't go down the tubes because he'll have those fans from OKC that will shun him if he goes anywhere. And also, he's gonna make a lot more money on this on the bonus money. I think I got to look more into the extension, but from what I've read, it looks like it would be really dumb for him to walk away from this deal.
I don't know. I guess it depends. Who does OKC have coming back? I mean, is there any?
Obviously, Serge Ibaka just got traded the other day to Orlando. He's not there anymore. I mean, Westbrook is obviously there. Steven Adams stepped up as a player.
I guess keep the core together. That's really all that matters. But they were very close to beating the Warriors and making it to the NBA Finals. And there's not much doubt in my mind that if they had made it to the NBA Finals, they would have matched up far better with Cleveland than Golden State did. I don't know if they would have won. I think it would have been a little bit different of a conversation, I guess.
I can't even say that they matched up well, though, because, I mean, Golden State was up 3-1 in that series. They were 1 win away from winning that for, like, at least for 3 games. So, like, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but in a sense, I do agree with the fact that you said they were 1 win away from going to the NBA Finals. And to me, that's the biggest factor in this. He's going to make a lot of money if he signs back with them. He is going to be back on a team that's going to compete for a championship. That's exactly why I crossed off the Golden State Warriors as a landing spot for Kevin Durant. One, they're not going to have a lot of cap space available. This is going to be a sort of a thing where he's going to be there for maybe a year or 2, and that's it. Because they're going to have to sign all those guys to major deals. Thompson's going to want money. Draymond Green's going to want money. Steph Curry is going to get a top 3 contract in the NBA. They'd be stupid not to offer it to him. I mean, he's a fantastic basketball player and a shooter. So, I mean, the Durant years will be short-lived if he goes there. So, I don't think he's going to go there. What do you think? I think Golden State's a 0% chance he goes to Golden State. I mean, out in Oakland.
What do you think about the Clippers? I think that's a very legit destination for him.
LA is a good destination. I think would make some sense. I mean, I wouldn't know if it would make sense, but I mean, he's got talent around him. He's got Chris Paul. He's got Griffin. He's got DeAndre Jordan. I mean, who wouldn't want to live out in LA? He's talked about how he likes more and more of the cities. Doc Rivers, respectable coach. I mean, that's a good landing spot for him as well.
I think that KD is not big into like the spotlight cities. I think he fits in well with a place like Boston, with a place like OKC, like a place like DC. I just think that he thrives under that kind of environment where like the fan base is all about it.
Here's why Boston's a top 3 option for Kevin Durant. They have $42 million in cap space right now. That's a lot of money they have to push around. Not only to give him a good deal, but to go after other players and grab them and bring them to Boston. Boston also has the Brooklyn Nets, who are going to be terrible for the next 4 to 5 years, have their first-round picks for next year and the following year. You got Brad Stevens, who's a respected coach. A lot of tradition, a lot of history. I mean, the only thing that's probably turning him away is that there's uncertainty about the team because, I mean, they were a 48-win team in the Eastern Conference. I mean, they also have lost in the first round back-to-back years. But they are getting better. They are getting better.
You said it to me. They have no business being in the playoffs the past 2 years. And it's because this year they backed into it. They played awful down the stretch. And the year before, no one expected them to even come close. Then they did. And like you said, Brad Stevens is the next great coach in the NBA. Once they have, think about it, they made the playoffs and name one player. Isaiah Thomas was an all-star, but there are no big names on that team. Kelly Olynyk played for Gonzaga. Those were his glory days. That is it.
I think they're going to want to keep their core, though, and, build it around Durant, though, because, I mean, they need to get – what I like about the Celtics is the bench is good. And that's the reason why they were able to compete with Golden State in the regular season at Oracle Arena, because the guys who were coming off the bench were playing equally as well as the starters. And they match up well against them because Golden State's got a great bench as well. So I think that that's one of their significant traits that they have for them going forward is that they got to keep guys around them on the bench. But if they have to make a move and send somebody, or at least clear something up for Durant to come out here, or go for another big time player, a guy that I really like. Obviously, I don't see it happening, but I want him on the Boston Celtics. 1, because I think he's a maniac, and 2, I think he fits the system really, really well. And as a big man, is DeMarcus Cousins. I know a lot of people hate on him and he's a troublemaker, blah blah blah. He's playing in Sacramento. He's playing for a bunch of guys like Rondo. And say what you want about Rondo, but Rondo has been known to create problems out there. He didn't get along with his coach. There were other contributing factors, the reason why he was unhappy out there. And he's got Isaiah Thomas in Boston with him right now, somebody who he enjoyed playing with. So I think that, if you look at guys like him, I also heard that Kevin Durant and Al Horford are very, very good friends too. So if the Celtics are going to try and target someone in free agency to bring Durant to Boston, they would look at a guy like Horford. Dwight Howard, to me, and I know we're going to talk about this in a second, I know he's been in talks about coming to Boston. He's a team cancer. He's a guy like Rondo. He's a guy he can create problems. But we've seen how Dwight Howard has played in the past, and it's not easy to just look away for a guy like him. If he plays in a right environment, if he plays on a team where he's not the star, I think that he can like elevate back to his level. He's 30. He's 29. He just turned 30. He's still kind of in his prime. I still think that there's something left in him. I'm not going to throw it right out the window right away. But the only two teams he's talked to so far are Boston and Atlanta. That's it. And I don't think – why would he go to Atlanta? They just traded Teague. Horford's a free agent. They're on the slowly – they're going down right now, I think, Atlanta.
I don't think any team wants him. I think he's going to be out of the league because he's, like you said, he's a cancer. Look, his numbers aren't even really good enough to justify him being such a dumbass. Like, rebounding, he hasn't been there. His numbers have been down year after year. And I think unless his numbers are off the charts, like what the Celtics thrive off of right now is team. There's no one guy that's bigger than the other. That doesn't happen very often. And you have that mantra with them that goes out the window the second you sign Dwight Howard. Boogie Cousins.
But do you think though? I'm not taking away from Dwight because I think Dwight is a very, very selfish player at many times. But can you blame it on some of the situations he's been in? You're talking about the crappy situation now in LA. What was an absolute disaster from the start. One, because him and Kobe didn't get along. That's fine. Not a lot of people get along with Kobe. Steve Nash was hurt, so that was one of the star guys that was off the starting team already. They had what was it? Gasol who was out there with that five as well. There was a couple other of them. It didn't work out, and then there was already problems off the start with him and Kobe. So I thought that was a big distraction. I would even say the same for Houston. Playing a guy, James Harden is easily becoming one of the most hateable players in the NBA because he's a ball hog and he's not a team player. Whereas I think he has not played in some of the best situations in his life. And you can get on me for the Orlando situation. You can honestly say he was one of the best players on the team, and he probably felt like sort of like LeBron at some sorts, where he was doing majority of the work for the teams. I think that the Celtics play a lot of team basketball, and you got a coach like Brad Stevens who I think that can kind of just get level-headed with some of these players and be like, okay, here's what we're going to do. And if you have a guy who's smart like him, I think that really balances out like the other bad things that he brings to the table. Do I think that he's going to be perfect and that he's going to completely change his ways if he comes to Boston? Not necessarily, no. But I do think that like you got to give the guy a chance somewhere. And if it doesn't work out, then we can close the books on Howard and say that's it. He's a terrible player. He can't get along with everybody. He's over with. We don't want him on our team.
I'm not even willing to give him that chance, man. I think you're building something right now. I think it's another scenario. If you've got veterans that are about to go out the door and you're like, we're missing one big piece. We need a big man, someone who's real good. I think then you take a chance on him. I think when you're building something and you're on the up and you have the potential to create something that can go to the finals year after year after year after year, which the Celtics team, if they can get one or two moving parts, 100% can. I think you risk destroying it all. You lower morale. The veterans that have been there that might be a part of the system for the next 2 to 3 years are like, oh, I'm out. I'm not spending my last 2 years dealing with this guy's crap. The young guys, they see him as a role model because, like you said, he's 30. He's an NBA vet. All of a sudden, they're like, nope, I'm not dealing with it. Why? If Dwight's not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. I think you stay far away from him. I think if you can take a gamble on one big guy, you go Boogie. I'm not huge on it, but with that being said, you do bring up like a really good point where Brad Stevens is the go-to guy. He's one of the best coaches, and Boogie hasn't gotten along with anyone because he's been in a crappy situation in Sacramento. Like, might not even have a team in the next 5 years. You know,
I'm not taking credit away from George Karl either because he's a great coach, great record and stuff. But the guys didn't get along. They did not get along, and they're not going to get along with like most coaches. Not every NBA coach has that presence over people that are respected. People like Stevens are very, very rare in the NBA. They don't come along very often. For somebody who is 39 years old to get this well-respected in the NBA right now as they are, for a team like the Celtics, who won his first year, won like 25, 26 games, and now back-to-back season they won 45, and now this year they won 48. I definitely think the Celtics are going to be a 50-win team next year. I think they may get to 50, 51 if they're lucky, because they had some games that they lost this year that they shouldn't have. But where this all comes back to with Durant, they're going to need, if they're going to make a pitch and effort towards him, I don't think it's going to happen because I do think that like he already met with Oklahoma City today, I think, or tomorrow. I think he's meeting with them tomorrow. I'd say there's a 90% chance he returns, but I'd also say that the Celtics, I think between the Celtics and possibly the LA Clippers, Those are the only two teams that probably have the best bet, only because of what's there for him in LA, for the LA Clippers. I think the whole situation in New York is even worse for him. I think they were talking about the Knicks possibly as a landing spot. There's a lot of question marks. The Knicks, they're going to be a completely different team. They have Derrick Rose going there. They have Noah going there. They have Carmelo and Porzingis. I still think that the Knicks they will win 40 games. They will win 40 games at least, I think. But you're talking about a guy like Jeff Hornacek, who just came to them. What is Hornacek? This coaching hire for the Knicks is mind-blowing. Hornacek was 48-34 in his first season with Phoenix. The following year, he was 39-43. Last year, he was 23-59. In 3 years, he was 110 and 136. What has he really done for him to get a job at the New York Knicks? And now you got this team a lot of uncertainty because you're bringing a mesh of players from a lot of different areas to go play for New York, and then you're trying to pitch this. Okay, we got Noah here, we got Derrick Rose here. We're gonna pitch for Kevin Durant now. I just think that's a big that's like Kevin Durant walking into a cave where there's absolutely no lights on. He has no idea what the hell he could expect out there. So and a guy like Hornacek, to me, who over the last 3 years hasn't really proven anything as a coach, why would he go there?
I think the Knicks' problem is that I don't think they have a first-round draft pick for the next 2 years. And they're not good. Like, they're screwed. If they can't land someone as good as Durant in free agency, then they're completely screwed. They're not going to do anything. They might not even make the playoffs.
That's why the Celtics having those first 2-round picks is so important, because they are like the golden ticket. We're not talking like a San Antonio first pick. We're not talking a Golden State first pick. We have the Brooklyn Nets first pick for the next 2 seasons. This is a team that might be the worst team in the NBA next year. They might finish with the worst record. The Celtics may have the first pick of the draft next year.
Yeah. But
see, so they have so much to offer on the plate for something, which is why I think when you want to bring a guy to Boston, they would probably offer those picks to get a big name. And I'm screaming because it's like I want to take a chance on to me, the way Kevin Garnett, and I know Kevin Garnett was like a lot more level-headed in the locker room with his players and stuff than these guys are, but I want a guy who, I don't want a guy who's like soft. Like, I know people have called Durant soft, but Durant is too much of an elite player to ignore. But I want a guy who's going to go in there and piss people off and get riled up about stuff, like DeMarcus Cousins, or even a Dwight Howard if he really wanted to play hard enough. I really think he could be dominant, but I don't know. I just want to. I want to see a big name veteran come to Boston. For some reason I don't like Horford. I don't really care for him. I thought he was pretty soft in Atlanta. I didn't really. I mean, I saw how the Celtics played against him. There was nothing that I was like, wow, this guy dominated. I want him on my team. So if it brings Durant to Boston, if we sign him, that's cool. But other than that, I could care less if they sign him or not.
Yeah, and I think it's like you said, it's going to take something like that. It's going to take another big 3 type deal. So moving to the NHL.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's go to the NHL. So you're the hockey guy. I'll lead you into it. You can do I did a lot of the blabbing on the last one. So just to give a quick news headlines, some big trades. PK Subban traded the Predators for Shea Weber. A lot of people are very stunned and shocked about this trade, including myself, because regardless of who you get, you're trading PK Subban away. Great hockey player. Steven Stamkos, another big deal, 8 years with the Lightning. And then Taylor Hall, the former first pick of the draft from Edmonton, traded to New Jersey. And I thought his tweet was very interesting, and it was kind of a slap in the face to Edmonton. "Quote unquote, now I am motivated." So Sully, what are your did you read that?
I did not know that.
He tweeted that. Yeah. So Sully, go into depth. Let's try to talk a little bit more about out of those 3 things I brought up, what is to me the most alarming and could be significantly bring the biggest change to those teams?
I think the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup in the next 3 years because they made that incredible. What? A
3-peat. They're going to win 3 years in a row, or they might win 1 in the next 3 years.
1 in the next 3 years, not 3 in a row. But just look at how close they were without Stamkos at all. He played in Game 7 of that Eastern Conference Finals, and that was it. They were so close. They absolutely – the puck bounced a couple different ways, could have made it to the Stanley Cup final.
You're talking a Tampa Bay team that's been in the Eastern Conference Finals 3 times since 2011. They've also been to the Stanley Cup. They've been to the Stanley Cup last year. They were one game. They were 1 game away this year. So yeah, I mean, they got their big guy back for the next 8 years. So I'd be motivated if I was Tampa Bay as well. But keep going with what you're saying.
So that's the takeaway I take from that. Peter Chiarelli is a dumbass. That's another takeaway I have.
The dumbest GM ever.
My favorite trades are the ones where you put them into like NHL 16 or Madden, and the computer won't let you do it because it thinks it's too lopsided.
Did you see that on the internet today?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, so folks, get this. The NHL game 2K17 did the exact trade that Peter Chiarelli did in real life, and it got rejected. This is how much of an idiot this guy is. This is also the same guy as, if you're Bruins fans, who traded away Tyler Seguin as well. For I know you're gonna say something, but the way Seguin.
Go ahead.
You think that was a good trade?
No, absolutely not. I did at the time. I think they needed to get rid of him, but I think if they held on to him a little bit. All right, we're gonna veer off from the free agency talk, but Tyler Seguin talk. In hindsight, I know it's 2020, but you take Seguin back.
Well, we're not really going on topic on the free agency because we're talking about another idiot who just traded away a big name player for virtually not the same player at all. So it makes sense. We're talking about how much of an idiot Chiarelli is.
I understand how people say Seguin was being an idiot. He was leaving his room. He was partying too much. Yeah, I totally get that. But what is 15 games in the regular season? And then he goes out and he scores 14 goals, 10 goals in 15 games, gets like 25 points because they're meaningless, they're garbage, gets them in extra time and stuff like that, whatever. And then, boom, you have a huge market with guys who have needs because people have gone down hurt. No, instead you do it right in the beginning of the offseason, and you get the best you can get, which Louis Eriksson, good deal. But you also have to give up Rich Peverley. People forget about that. The Bruins gave up far too much for that.
Absolutely, they did.
And
horrible trade.
Losing Seguin sucked. If it was just Seguin for Louis and Morrow, that's another thing people don't understand. Joe Morrow was packaged in the deal. He's going to be a very good defenseman. He's only 22. But I just don't understand. Like, Peter Chiarelli must be just an awful negotiator. He must be a solid hockey guy because people keep hiring him. But he is an awful negotiator because there's no reason you should do Larson for Taylor Hall straight up. There is no – you have the cards in your hand. Yes, you need defense, and I can understand New Jersey maybe being like, well, we know you really need it, but at the same time, get a draft pick, get a minor leaguer, get a prospect, get something. Don't do one-for-one straight up when clearly that it's not a good trade on your end.
No, it was a terrible trade. And, it's so funny. It's absolutely laughable as Bruins fans that Chiarelli made this trade because it's exactly what we were thinking when they traded away Seguin for all those guys. All right, so what do you think about this whole Subban, Shea Weber deal? I'm shocked. Honestly, Subban was a fun guy to hate for me when he played for the Canadiens. I'm honestly going to miss him being on Montreal because I loved to hate Subban. I love him as a hockey player. I don't care how dirty people think he plays the game. I think he enjoys playing it, and I think he's built himself as a great name in this league. I think that the Nashville Predators won this trade. I don't know how you feel about it, but I think that he's going to make a huge difference for them.
Yeah, I think it's really easy to see that. I guess, and our Dylan Santos, our good friend, tweeted this out, and it makes sense, so I'll say it. Montreal lacked leadership, and Shea Weber brings a whole lot of that, and I think that was the basis of this trade. Weber is still pretty young. I think he's 32.
He's 30.
He's 30? Okay. So he's still young. Subban is dynamic, and he might be the best puck-moving / offensive defenseman in the league. But with that being said, they had a lot of woes, and they weren't on offense this year. So I can understand them bringing a guy who's a big body, who's a really good leader, who just plays his angles on defense better than almost anyone in the league. It's probably frustrating for Montreal fans because not only was that the face of your franchise and the face of kind of like young hockey, but at the same time, he was just so dynamic on the power play in the postseason. Whenever he got the puck, as a Bruins fan, you clenched your fists and you tensed up. But I don't make that trade if I'm GM of Montreal. I don't. I don't.
When I think of Montreal now, I think of guys like Subban. That's the first guy that comes to my head when I think of the Canadians. So now I'm probably, I mean, obviously now Weber is going to be that guy I'm going to be looking at when I'm on the ice. But still, like, it's weird now because he was the guy that I looked for on the ice. Like, he was the guy that I was like, okay, we got to keep an eye on him. He's going to be the guy that's going to change the outcome of this game, whether he gets the puck or not. And he killed the Bruins. This could potentially be great for Boston if they figure it out at some point. And hockey's weird because sometimes things can click. And I think that the Bruins have those guys on the squad that can still muster in a decent team because they weren't terrible overall like the whole year last year. It just got towards the end of the year where they just got pathetic. I mean, for a while there, they looked like in pretty good shape to make the playoffs. I still think, like, even then, there were years in the past when we thought that the Penguins were done. Like, a couple years ago, they're like, this Penguins team is over with. And now they're Stanley Cup champions after a couple of moves been made and bring some new guys to the squad. So I think that if the Bruins make enough moves, they could potentially turn this thing around for them. And I think that with the Subban trade going on and sending Weber to Montreal, I think it could – we don't know how Weber's going to play against Boston, but I think this is a good thing for the Bruins as well because Subban he's been the Bruin killer. So I hate to see him go. I hate to see him go because like he was like it's not fun when like I don't know, it's weird. It's like if you like compare it to the Red Sox. Like you want to hate the Yankees, but it was like if Derek Jeter got traded to the Padres. It's like, wow, this sucks. Like I can't hate this guy anymore.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah, you're gonna go from playing him a couple times a year and hating him to seeing him once a year, which is going to
can't wait till Nashville comes to Boston and he's going to get booed so loud.
Oh yeah.
All right, so
we got to wrap up, but I just want to say one more thing on the topic.
That's what I was going into the final thoughts, but go ahead. What's your final thought?
Well, before my actual final thought, the hockey final thought is that we said the Penguins were done, but what's the big thing that they did? They fired their head coach. Maybe that's all that lies in the Bruins. Maybe they're just not responding to Claude anymore, and it doesn't mean he's a bad coach because Dan Bilesma is one of the best coaches in NHL. And
I think Claude's a great coach too, but I definitely agree with you on that. I think that maybe they're just not like responding or clicking with him anymore. We'll see. Maybe he's got one more season. If it doesn't go well this season, he's out.
Yep.
So, all right. What are your final thoughts? Anything else?
Yeah, College World Series. I'm a huge bandwagoner to this.
Watched it all. It was great. All three games are great.
Oh my God. Shout out to Coastal. Did you know they had one current player in the majors that went to Coastal Carolina and played baseball there?
Did you see their clubhouse in the 90s? Did you see that?
Yes.
I love what that coach has done with that team. He completely turned that program around. It was pathetic before. So I'm glad. I love seeing those kind of stories where like coach comes in there, brings some new recruits, they start getting more money, get the program going, and now they got a nice clubhouse and a nice stadium to play at, and now they're their first championship in school history. So that's awesome for the what is it? They're the Tide. Is it?
They're like the Chanticleers or something like that.
No, that's weird. I thought it was like a teal something. I don't know. I thought I saw it on the sign or not, but I guess I was kind of forgetting about that.
We call them the Chants. I
was rooting for Coastal. One, because they never won it, and two, my brother goes to Arizona State, so I've learned to hate University of Arizona. So I could give two craps about the Wildcats. They suck. They don't suck at baseball, but I'm just jumping on that whole ASU bandwagon. I can't root for U of A at anything. Just like I would not expect my brothers to vote or to root for Michigan, and I guess I can't root for Auburn anymore. So I'm just sticking with my family ties. So.
Hey, my brother's going to be a Wildcat, so we can hate the same teams now. It's great.
It's awesome. So I don't really have much of a final thought. The College World Series one was a good final thought. But yeah, I guess that's all we have for today. So we'll end on that note. So be sure to check us out on Facebook. We'll be trying to post a little bit more as we get more information, content, whatever it is. We gotta work on some new stuff. This Google Hangout and this Wi-Fi crashing crap. It's getting old. We're trying to get this show up on iTunes. That way people don't have to click the YouTube link and like load it for us. We want to be able to get it on somebody's phone. That way they can download it and they can listen to it. So you can listen to us blab and talk and yell and scream and hear my annoying ass voice about sports. So yeah, so that's it. I'm Zach and here with Sully. So until next time, take it easy.
I'm about to work at a gas station. What up?